And hi, everybody. Welcome on in. It's the first segment of this week's edition of the SkyCast, the forum that just keeps bringing the power every week as we talk about the Big Sky Conference. I'm John Oglesby.
Jason Ashcraft.
Brad Wall.
We're excited to jump into another exciting week of Big Sky action, fellas. So exciting I used the word exciting twice. Actually, 3 times if you count it all together. But should be a great weekend of action. Conference races on every sport really heating up. We're going to start first with you, Jason. Talk about a little bit about what's going on in women's soccer, where the conference action is hot.
Absolutely. We only have about 4 to 5 games, depending on your team, left in the regular season. So with just a few weeks left, we're seeing this race really heat up. If you look at the standings right now, Idaho is sitting atop everything, 5-0 in the conference with 15 points. But right behind them, you've got Eastern Washington and Northern Colorado with 12 points in the conference. Another bunch of ties. Weber State, Sac State, both with 9 points. And then a big roadblock there, or a log jam for with Northern Arizona, North Dakota, and Montana with 7 points. It's really anybody's race at this point. Idaho right now is the front runner, but you never know what's going to happen, especially with just a few games left in the season.
Absolutely. So much going on in soccer, but volleyball is another really tense sport, Brad.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, it's kind of the same thing. Tournament spots are heating up. We had 5 teams go 2-0 last week. Southern Utah and Northern Arizona, they both beat Montana State and Montana. Eastern Washington and Idaho, they each beat Sacramento State and Portland State, big wins for them. And who am I missing? Idaho State going over, and they have a championship rematch with Northern Colorado. Just a great match, goes to 5 sets. Northern Colorado nearly pulls the upset and hands them the first loss, but Idaho State hangs on and wins it. And then Idaho State turns around and beats North Dakota, a team that had won.
Good win.
They had won 12 straight games in the Betty Center. So credit to the Bengals, and that's where our Player of the Week came from, Haley Farrer. She had, in that championship rematch, 63 assists, 15 digs, just a huge contribution defensively and you know, setting up her hitters. And then turns around and has 35 assists, 10 digs against North Dakota. Not a lot of love. I feel like we haven't been given that much love to setters in the conference this season, but Haley's, you know, one of the several strong hitters we've been having.
I mean, they set everything up.
Well,
right?
the setter in volleyball it's a lot like your quarterback in football. And I've worked at schools where a team had their setter go down due to injury, and hopefully none of that happens in our conference. But when that if you don't have a setter on point, your entire game plan just goes out the window.
Absolutely. And let's see, the other stuff in the conference. So now we've got Eastern Washington and Idaho State, both 6-0. They're kind of the front runners right now. Northern Arizona on their heels at 5-1. North Dakota 4-2, and then we got a chunk. We have 4 teams at 3-3. Northern Colorado, Idaho, Sacramento State, and Southern Utah. There's your 8 tournament spots right there. You got a couple teams in the back, you know, kind of looking on in the back right now at 1-5 and 0-6. But you know, it's plenty early, but teams are kind of gaining ground already and making their implications on making a tournament run.
No doubt about that. Jason, we want to throw it back to you for Soccer Player of the Week.
Absolutely.
Sorry, we kind of skipped you there.
No, it's fine. We got all excited about volleyball too. Weber State had a great week, and they scored 8 goals in 2 games. And they swept our Player of the Week nomination, or our Player of the Week awards this week. Stacey Bear, got the Offensive Player of the Week, scored 2 goals, picked up an assist, actually scored the game winner against Sacramento State. And then Abby Clayton earned the Defensive Player of the Week. The Wildcats, in 180 minutes of action, only allowed 13 shots on goal. So very good offensive and defensive performance for the Wildcats this past weekend, really making some noise right at the right time in conference play.
No doubt about that. Brad, anything happening cross country right now?
Well, it's a pretty quiet week. We only had 3 teams compete, so no athlete of the week or anything. We had Southern Utah and Idaho State compete at Southern Utah's Color Country invite. Southern Utah held out most of their top runners in preparation for this upcoming weekend, which is most people are competing either at pre-nationals or at some other big meets. So kind of gearing up for that. And you had Idaho State. They got their men claimed the team victory there. The women were second. and Thunderbirds third on both sides. Then Weber State competed at the Utah State Invitational. Weber State had 5 female runners in the top 20, 3 men.
All right.
So, and Weber held out a lot of their top girls
Yeah.
in preparation for pre-nationals. So, not relatively quiet, but still some highlights out there.
No doubt about that. So, time to turn to a couple of our other sports. We'll start first with men's and women's golf. Michelle Kim, our Big Sky Women's Golfer of the Week. This is the second week in a row that she's won the award. Third time this year. She finishes high at a tournament up in Seattle. Most of the Big Sky took part in that. Weber finishing well there. Idaho took second. So, congratulations out to the Vandals golf team for that. On the men's side, Sam McNulty from Hartford. Little East Coast action coming in Big Sky Golf this week. He does well at the Connecticut Cup. He leads Hartford to a high finish there as he's the Big Sky Men's Golfer of the Week. All right, fellas, time to turn to what happened on the gridiron this past week in Big Sky football. We got to turn first to the beatdown, and that's really the only way to say it. The beatdown of North Texas by Portland State. The Vikings pick up a 66-7 victory over Conference USA North Texas. I know North Texas is down. A couple years ago, though, they beat UNLV in a bowl game. Side note to Portland State getting a win, Bruce Barnum getting a contract extension there. So at the end of the season, no longer will he be an interim coach at 4-1. Bruce Barnum will be the head coach of the Vikings with a reported 5-year deal. Guys, I got to say, this game, Portland State, got to see how they do the rest of the league season, obviously. But this team, the start that they've had to the season, I know they're one loss. It's a 2-point loss to North Dakota. That's a good football team. So very impressive for the Vikings.
2 wins over an FBS opponent this year. And I think
Washington State one keeps looking better and better.
It absolutely does. And I think going into this year, listening to Coach Barnum at Media Day, you kind of got the sense that he knew something good could happen.
Yeah.
And congrats to him. He's really earned it. But this Vikings team is just impressive to watch. To go on the road to an FBS team and put that sort of performance out there is really impressive.
No doubt about that. And some other big scores around the conference this weekend. Idaho State picks up their first conference win of the season, a 37-31 victory over North Dakota. Michael Sanders in that game, over 400 yards, 4 touchdown passes. He's your Root Sports Offensive Player of the Week in the Big Sky Conference. Be interesting to see if Idaho State gets some momentum as they go forward. They'll host Eastern Washington this weekend. We'll talk about that coming up a little bit later in the show. Weber State with a historic victory. I did a little research into some pop culture notes. So Weber State picked up a win, an overtime win, 24-21 over Montana. It's their first win at Washington Grizzly Stadium since 1987. You want to know a number 1 song from 1987?
Number 1.
Just take a guess. I think there was about 15 of them that year.
I wasn't alive yet, so I'm not quite sure on that.
I was in kindergarten, so I'm not exactly sure.
We're going to go Stuck With You by Huey Lewis and the News. So a chart-topping hit right now, no doubt. But that's how long it's been since Weber State's picked up a win in Missoula. The Wildcats now 3-3. Big plays in that game. Cordero Dixon, who had a pick 6 in that game. He's your Root Sports Defensive Player of the Week, as well as Josh Kalamakia, who hit a big kick in overtime to give the Wildcats the win. He's your Root Sports Special Teams Player of the Week. A couple other games to note. Montana State gets back on the winning side after a poor performance in Northern Arizona. They get a 35-13 win over Sacramento State. That we'll see how the Bobcats respond going forward. They got a big game this week against Portland State. We'll talk about a little bit later. But Eastern Washington, 42-41 overtime victory over Cal Poly. They stop a 2-point conversion attempt. Cal Poly trying to go for the win. Eagles able to snuff it out.
Yep.
That's a good win for Eastern Washington. Good teams sometimes have to win ugly. And Cal Poly's a good team as well. They haven't been able to get the wins this season, but I think that's a good win for the Eagles.
The weather, it really took an element
tough.
out of Eastern's passing game. Cooper Kupp was held to 3 catches?
Yeah.
Not
a prolific
they really
day.
had to kind of dumb down their offense, try some quick stuff, run the ball a little more, and credit to them for still putting up 42 points and containing Cal Poly's rushing attack.
And that's a real credit to Eastern Washington. If you because they're known for
Yeah.
going to Cooper Cup
Yep.
to have to adapt to a situation and come out
Absolutely.
with a win. That might pay off dividends as the season goes on.
Well, I was about to say that. That's really a credit to them because I think it shows that Eastern Washington can win with an offensive attack that maybe isn't as much vertical as it is horizontal.
Yep.
You know, and more on the ground than the prolific vertical passing attack. So be interesting to see how that trend goes over the season. As again, 42-41 victory for Eastern Washington over Cal Poly. And a big win this weekend for UC Davis. They get a 38-24 win over Northern Arizona. Coach Jerome Sowers of Northern Arizona kind of talked about it, some of the events that happened on their campus. Unfortunately, he felt maybe took some of their ability to prepare that they were looking for away. Still, he said UC Davis is a good football team. And I've had good vibes around UC Davis. I think they were just searching for an identity. It appears like they found it in this home win.
Yeah, they just needed to get over the hump.
Yeah,
Get the
absolutely.
monkey off your back at that first win, and to pick one up there at their home stadium is always good.
Absolutely, a good win. Not a good win for them, but they'll play Northern Colorado this week. We'll talk about that game coming up a little bit more later in the show. We're going to take a short break. Before we do, we want to hand out our final Big Sky of the Week award. We're going to hand out a weekly fashion award to members of the SkyCast cast, if you will. Brad, I think you're going to win this week. I'm liking that shirt.
Brad.
Works for me.
It's a good look right there. So congrats to Brad Wall, the SkyCast cast member of the week right there. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back. We'll preview what's coming up on our Olympic sports this weekend in the Big Sky Conference. You're watching the SkyCast on the Big Sky Conference YouTube page.
We play to win, but it's bigger than winning. It's about authenticity, being true to yourself, genuine dreams and a country big enough to fit them, values and hard work, giving your best and giving back, working together, building a tradition bigger than any one of us, and showing the world every day who we are and how we play. We're Big Sky. We are the heart of the American West.
And hi, everybody. Welcome back to the SkyCast lair here for segment number 2 of the Big Sky Conference SkyCast. I want to remind people real quick, if you want to get in on some of the action with the show, if you want to ask us questions, if you want to give us some interaction, remember to tweet at Big Sky Conf and then use hashtag SkyCast. We'll make sure to include some of your questions in on the show in next week's episode. We got a lot coming up this weekend, fellas. We already talked about some of the events of last weekend that shaped some of the good conference races that we have coming up still. But talk about, and we'll start with you, Jason, talk about some of the hot action this weekend in soccer.
Well, we've got a lot of great games this week on the pitch. Some of the games that you might really want to pay attention to are all of them. Honestly, we talked about
Just throw them all
how
on there.
we were talking about how tight all the races are. So now you've got teams that are fighting for their tournament lives, fighting to stay above elimination. So we'll just start off. North Dakota is at Portland State, 1 p.m. Pacific kick. That's on watchbigsky.com. Great game setting up there. North Dakota, Portland State, pretty close in the rankings. Portland State just 1 point behind the Vikings. North Dakota's 1 point behind the Vikings, excuse me. Montana is at Idaho State. That is available to watch on Idaho State's website. Yep. Idaho State battling to stay alive in the race to make the Big Sky tournament. Idaho still undefeated at 5-0. Southern Utah will travel up to Moscow, 3 p.m. Pacific kick on Friday, looking to hand the Vandals their first loss. Yep. Northern Arizona's at Eastern Washington. That's a 3 p.m. kick Pacific time. You can also watch that one on Watch Big Sky. And Northern Colorado's at Sacramento State, 4 p.m. Pacific on Friday. Another really important game. Moving on to Sunday, Sac State hosts North Dakota. That's a 10:30 a.m. kick, followed by Weber State, who has really come on strong. We talked about them earlier. 12 p.m. Mountain. They're hosting Montana. Weber State can really make some noise and maybe move up to the top 2 or 3 spots in the conference if they keep playing the way they have been. Portland State hosting Northern Colorado. Another chance for the Vikings to move up in the standings. 1 p.m. on Friday, or 1 p.m. on Sunday. That's Pacific time. Watch Big Sky. Idaho's at Northern Arizona. 1 p.m. Arizona time, which fluctuates, and then
Good
Southern.
thing to throw the caveat.
Yeah, sometimes it's Mountain, sometimes it's Pacific. Southern Utah is at Eastern Washington. That rounds out Sunday's game. That's also available on Watch Big Sky. So the race is really tight. Watch every game you can because we had a couple games go to overtime last weekend. It was a really exciting time for Big Sky soccer. Pay attention because you never know who's going to be on top next week.
Absolutely. And remember, you can go to the weekend viewing guide on the Big Sky Conference website, bigskyconf.com, if you have any questions about how to find any of those matches. All right, Brad, let's move forward, turn the page to see what's happening in volleyball and cross country.
Yeah, so actually, North Dakota already kind of got us started off this week. They hosted in-state rival North Dakota State.
Okay, well,
Swept them.
non-conf action.
They got the sweep over them, so a little bit of in-state.
Yeah, I was following that on Twitter. It looked like a really good crowd there.
Yeah. The Betty was pretty packed, so yeah, that was pretty good. Pretty good to start off the week. And then now we got Eastern Washington and Idaho. They head over to face Montana and Montana State. Eastern at MSU Thursday, Idaho at Montana. Eastern has a chance to go 8-0. Idaho, they're 3-3, looking to possibly go 5-3. But don't count out Montana State. Their records, I feel, aren't indicative of how they've been playing. If they get swept or they pick up a set, a lot of the sets have been really close. They've been giving them some good battles and hitting the ball well. So keep an eye out for those. And then Idaho State 6-0, got one of the tougher road trips in the Big Sky. They head down to Cedar City, face Southern Utah Thursday, and then take on, this is a big matchup, face Northern Arizona on Saturday in Flagstaff. Northern Arizona 5-1, Idaho State 6-0, sitting at the top of that South Division.
Yep.
Really, that could be a really
No doubt about that.
early
And AU has a
indication
lot
of
to
who can
play for
host.
there.
Yeah. Big bragging rights on the line there. And then North Dakota and Northern Colorado. North Dakota plays at Portland State, Northern Colorado at Sacramento State, and then Northern Colorado heads home and hosts North Dakota. Sacramento State heads home and hosts Portland State. Big chances there for the North Dakotas to pick up a couple games on some teams. Northern Colorado and Sacramento State. They're both 500, chance to get over 500 and make up some ground there. And Weber State also heads over to face Northern Arizona and Southern Utah. So it's already kind of heated up, but it'll heat up some more this weekend for
absolutely.
sure. We'll get a better idea on where we're heading down the line.
Nice. That's the one cool thing about college sports is the temperatures get colder, the conference play gets hotter. So let's see what happens there. Any major things going on this weekend in cross country, Brad?
Yeah, so this is the last weekend of competition for most schools. I think Northern Arizona is competing like the week before conference. They'll probably hold out some people. So this is kind of it, and where better to have it than Louisville, where nationals will be hosted. NCAA pre-nationals. We got Eastern, Montana State, Southern Utah, and Weber each sending people. Needless to say, gigantic meet.
Oh, absolutely.
That'll definitely be. I don't want to predict anything. I could see athlete of the week, coming out of being the top Big Sky finisher.
Oh, absolutely.
Well, the competition at that is going to be.
It'll be
intense.
unreal. Yeah. Not to say that any of the other meets will have strong performances, but I'll have my eye on that one for sure. North Dakota hosts a home meet, the Ron Payne Classic. Northern Arizona, they head over to Madison, Wisconsin for the Adidas Invitational. Also going to be a very high caliber meet. Be looking for some big results out of them there. Portland State, they go to Emerald City Open in Seattle. Idaho, Northern Colorado, and Sacramento State, they compete at the Santa Clara Bronco Invitational. They'll have some strong regional competition, I'm sure. Definitely a good tune-up before the conference meet. And geez, it's only like 2 weeks away, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Conference championships are almost here. And then Eastern and Idaho and Montana, they'll also be sending some squads to the Inland Empire Classic in Lewiston. So
Nice. It should be a good time, no doubt, this weekend in cross country. Remember, Big Sky Conference Cross Country Championships, a little more than 2 weeks away. Halloween morning, get your day started off right in Cedar City, Utah for the Big Sky Cross Country Championships there in Cedar City, Utah. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll preview what's coming up this weekend in Big Sky football. Back on a moment. You're watching the SkyCast.
In the NCAA Division I Football Championship Subdivision, the game is played with perseverance, integrity, passion, character, and sportsmanship. As he works to honor the game and respect his teammates, opponents, officials, and fans, every FCS player grows in his responsibilities as a student and as a member of his campus and community. Dedicated to personal growth and success in the classroom, the NCAA Division I FCS. Every down, every day.
Welcome back, everybody. Final segment of the SkyCast. John Oglesby, Jason Ashcraft, Brad Wall. It's time to talk about Big Sky football. We got a good weekend coming up this weekend in the Big Sky. Want to start first. One of the few matchups this week that'll feature two nationally ranked teams. You got Portland State hosting Montana State. That game will be on Root Sports as well as DirecTV's audience network nationwide. This game is as big as it comes. Montana State, with where they're at right now, they need a road win over a good opponent. There's no doubt about that. Portland State, they got a lot of momentum nationally, but they've got to keep that up with a win over a team that obviously was picked to win the conference this season. So should be a really intriguing matchup at Providence Park this Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. Portland State with a chance to move up in the Big Sky standings. You kind of think that they're maybe not a shoe-in for the playoffs, but they've got a really good playoff resume. A win like this will really help the Vikings' resume as we get close to the FCS playoffs.
Absolutely.
Yeah, going into next week, having one conference loss sounds a lot better than having two, so that'd be kind of the mindset going in for both those teams.
And in Portland State, they kind of start a really challenging period of the season for them. They got Montana State this weekend. They got Cal Poly in San Luis Obispo. That's like a 13-hour bus trip the weekend after. Then they host the Montana Grizzlies the weekend after. Obviously, you get two of those three games at home, but we're going to learn a lot about who Portland State is as a football team over the next 3 weeks.
And for the Bobcats, this is really a chance to make a case for a Big Sky regular season championship.
Absolutely.
You pick up a win, you're 3-1 in the conference with only a few weeks left.
Absolutely. So should be a good one. Again, want to give the kickoff time on that. It's 12:35 Pacific time at Providence Park in Portland, Oregon. Portland State and Montana State. It's also on Root Sports as well as DirecTV's audience network. UC Davis, Northern Colorado. UNC coming off a bye week. UC Davis obviously picking up that first win of the season last week against Northern Arizona. That'll be a 1:05 Mountain Time kickoff. It'll be on Comcast Entertainment TV by Xfinity as well as WatchBigSky.com. Northern Colorado, they're not out of this thing right now.
No.
They are still in there. I mean, they got two conference losses, but they've kind of been able to right the ship. They got a win over Sacramento State before they went on the bye week. They could make a little bit of noise here throughout the rest of the season.
Both Northern Colorado, UC Davis with the 1-2 mark in the conference. Both of these teams really have a chance with whoever wins is really going to have a chance to put themselves in the upper part of the Big Sky standings and maybe even in the playoff picture.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have a chance to put themselves in a position where they're going to start to make some noise.
Yep.
If not nationally, at least around the league. So big game again, 1:05 Mountain Time kickoff. That game will be on CET by Xfinity as well as WatchBigSky.com. Eastern Washington at Idaho State. I'm going to make a bold prediction. I know we don't do this too much on this show. I'm going to make a bold prediction and say that there's going to be some passing yards in this game.
Weather will not be a factor.
No, weather will not be a factor, and there will be some passing yards. You can put that in the book. But Eastern coming off both these teams coming off good victories,
Yes.
really. It will be interesting to see how Eastern gets back to. You got to imagine they're going to go back to the vertical passing attack in a dome environment like Holt Arena.
But they built up that confidence that if they can't get it going,
Yeah.
they now know that, hey, we can do other stuff too.
Yeah.
But for the Bengals, I mean, this is a chance for Idaho State to really pick up a huge home win. You know they're good at home. You know that the fans are gonna be rocking. Holt Arena is gonna be a place to be this weekend, I think.
No doubt about that. 2:35 Mountain Time kickoff. That game will be on WatchBigSky.com. Another reason to watch. Both quarterbacks, Jordan West and Michael Sanders, both of them have at various times of the season won Big Sky Root Sports Big Sky Offensive Player of the Week. So should be a good matchup up in Pocatello. A couple of the remaining games, North Dakota at Weber State. That'll be a 6 o'clock Mountain Time kickoff. You can find that game in Utah on KJS 14, as well as watchbigsky.com. Weber and North Dakota, their teams, the Wildcats have one, both of them have one loss in conference, but their teams obviously that are in the picture right there, this game's going to go a long way towards separating who's a contender and who's a pretender for that title.
Absolutely.
So it should be a fun one again. 6 o'clock, Weber, the last week they win both the Root Sports Defensive Player of the Week as well as special teams, Josh Kalamakia. It's interesting, the place kickers for both teams have won Root Sports Special Teams Player of the Week at some time during the season. So I'm interested to see how that special teams battle plays out.
Absolutely. I mean, if a good special teams is just another tool in the box that if you need, I mean, we've seen it all over the country in both pro and college, special teams coming down to the last second, getting the points, getting the field position. I'm really interested. Very rarely will you hear me say, I'm interested to see a special teams game. In this game, this is one that you really want to watch out for.
It's a third of the game, man.
Yeah, it's one of the three
Third of
phases,
the game, yeah. Good special teams battle brewing, or set to brew this Saturday up in Ogden. Again, 6 o'clock kickoff. Watch that on KJS 14 in Utah. Final game, Sacramento State at Southern Utah. Southern Utah, fellas, one of the top defensive teams in the country, near the top of the country in turnovers forced, turnover ratio, going in a new offensive direction as they get a new OC taken over during their bye week last week. So it'll be interesting to see how they respond to that. However, I got to say, their defense is something that's very easy to trust in.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at the standings right now, Southern Utah picks up a win and Idaho State knocks off Eastern Washington. Southern Utah is alone in first place in a 3-0 record. So a lot to play for down in Cedar City.
No doubt about that. Again, that game will be available on watchbigsky.com, 6 o'clock Mountain Time kickoff there at Eccles Coliseum in Cedar City. Should be a fun weekend of Big Sky football as, again, your Root Sports Big Sky football game of the week. Montana State at Portland State, a matchup of two nationally ranked teams. 12:35 Pacific Time kickoff at Providence Park on Root Sports as well as DirecTV's Audience Network. Fellas, heck of a show as always. Do we have any closing thoughts?
Just stay tuned to watchbigsky.com to catch all of the volleyball and football action, and keep watching the hashtag Road to Reno.
Yep.
Men's basketball, women's basketball.
Tickets on sale.
Tickets are on sale now, and it's going to be here before we know it.
Absolutely. Remember to get your hotel reservations as well. Brad, any closing shots?
You know, I just gotta say, I think this is probably in my top 6 favorite SkyCast shows.
It's one of the best.
Definitely in top 6.
Yeah, the top 6.
Yeah, I'd put it up there for sure. Remember to use the hashtag SkyCast. We appreciate you so much for joining us each and every week. Thanks to all of you who are hanging out in your own little neighborhoods. And for all of us here, I'm John Oglesby.
Jason Ashcraft.
Brad Wall.
Have a good afternoon, everybody, and a good day in your neighborhood. Go Big Sky. Bring in
I'd rather
small
not
meeting.
put on a volleyball outfit. I know cross